June 2019 marked the 10-year anniversary of the Lethality Assessment Program, or LAP, for the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department. LAP began as a way for KCPD to reduce the incidence of homicide among victims of domestic violence. The questionnaire helps determine whether a victim is in danger of being killed by their abuser. KCPD was the first in the nation to use the program on a full-time basis, department-wide, and is now a model for the nation. Major Mark Folsom and local domestic violence advocates were instrumental in bringing LAP to Kansas City.
So we wanted to do the things that I said: decrease the number of homicides, decrease the number of aggravated assaults, decrease the repeat calls for service that we had. Because there's nothing worse than having to go to the same house over and over again and feeling like this person needs help, but there's nothing I can do because they won't take my help.
Jennifer had been victimized by her husband several times before she contacted police in fall of 2018. The LAP questions helped her realize she was in danger.
I remember he had asked me if he ever threatened my life, and I know that was a question that was asked, and I told him yes. If I felt, I believe that he had asked me if I felt that my kids and our lives were in danger. If he had ever threatened to hurt the boys, which was also, I feel like that was another thing that we had talked about. And I mean, it was just yes. I think for some people they think, well, why can't that person just leave? Or yes, it sounds that simple, but I think when you have children with that person and you build this bond, it's very odd that the power they hold over you. So you're almost fearful to reach out.
An officer encourages the victim to talk to a domestic violence advocate. Rosebrook's Chief Operating Officer, Lisa Fleming, says it's the first step in providing help.
It's a life-saving measure. That for many of the victims, just by the process of going through the screen and going through all of the different questions, it's a way of educating victims on what are the things that make them at higher risk than maybe other victims of domestic violence. So it really helps to change the lens by which they're seeing their situations, and it allows us as a community to partner with the police department to take advantage of that window of opportunity of when the incident has just happened, they've just gotten the education that they are at high risk. They're able to hear from the officer, I'm worried about you. I'm afraid for your safety. I'm afraid for the safety of you, your children, and I'm afraid that you will be killed. And to have it be a really direct message to that victim, but then also offer up a solution, offer up some hope.
Connecting a victim to those services could ultimately change their lives.
I would not be where I am right now if I hadn't asked for help and if services weren't given to me. Just, it isn't a piece of paper. I mean, it opened so many doors to me. It got me back on my feet. It got my kids in a good place where when I come home every day and they're smiling and they're happy to see me, that home is a safe place for them. It just means so much.
Because of LAP, Major Folsom says the incidence of homicide from intimate partner violence has decreased significantly in Kansas City.
Aggravated assaults decreased 5-year period compared to 5-year period by 12%. That's 93 per year less that we're having on aggravated assaults. Repeat victims were 3.4% less. Repeat offenders were 7.7% less. Here's the big deal. We had a 33.9% decrease in the number of addresses, repeat addresses that we went to. 5-year period versus 5-year period. So that's a huge difference, and it's a huge benefit for victims because those are all different victims all the time. They're not necessarily the repeat victims. We did 11,725 screens that our officers completed on calls for service. 72.1% of those ended up high danger. So that's 8,458. We were able to get 4,211 of those high danger victims to speak with a hotline advocate. That's 49.8%. Only one victim who was screened has been killed. Now there's been one or two more since then, but I think we're up to 2 or 3 now in the history of us doing this program in the last 10 years. So looking back at this one victim out of 11,725, that's 0.00085%. I think that's evidence that it's worth doing and that it makes a difference.
Fleming believes police intervention in the early stages has made a big difference.
Partnering with the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department on the lethality assessment programs has been one of the most significant and effective ways for domestic violence programs like Rosebrook Center to be able to connect and engage with victims of domestic violence and their children. We are, since starting the program in 2009, we've become well known across the United States as being a model program for having a partnership, a strong partnership between domestic violence advocates and the police department.
I think people may not realize how prevalent domestic violence is in our society, and certainly other societies even more so. But domestic violence knows no race, no sex, no sexual orientation, no being rich, no being poor. It crosses all lines and affects all people. If you see or are aware of domestic violence going on, help us by helping them.